Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is Success with Srini.
Welcome back to Success with Srini. Today's podcast episode is a little different, very unique in the sense that a listener of this podcast asked me a question. I am attempting to answer the question, but I'm going to speak as if I'm talking to the podcast. I'm talking to all of you. That's what I'm going to address. So let's go to the question first. The question is, hi Srini, I hope you're doing well. I have a question for you and would appreciate your insight on this. What is the best way to keep the financial independence in a married relationship? Is it okay to keep our finances separate? I realize that the main problem in some relationships is probably money. It may be possible that one person feels that they are being controlled by their significant other. It causes frustration and gives a feeling for being imprisoned. It also restricts the ability to take risks and explore various career opportunities. I thought to ask you this question because I know that your insight will be very helpful. Thanks. Any question can be answered from different dimensions. I can take a social dimension on this and answer this socially. I can also answer this religiously, philosophically, spiritually, culturally, and also personally. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first take a personal stand on this. So if I wake up in your shoes tomorrow and if I'm going through this, how would I answer this question? Well, it turns out that this happened to me personally. We had a joint account. I had an account. I got married, added my wife to the account, and all the money was coming into the account and I was the guy who was spending, literally. When I was asked multiple times, hey, are you spending all this money? My ego is, no, it all makes sense. But then I was. You see, spend happens unknowingly. I didn't have any budgets, I didn't have any planning, none of that stuff. So money was coming in and I was just freely spending the money. Most of the money was going into business. And so-called business was not generating any return. This was a primary contention very early on. So a few years into this, we made a choice to separate accounts. We separated the accounts. It's not that I ever stopped asking her money. It's not that she stopped giving me money. It's just that she used to write a check now. So from her side, she had visibility on what checks she was writing to me. She felt in control. See, it's not about my behavior, even though my behavior was questionable, but it was more about lack of transparency from my side and accountability from my side, which was creating the discomfort in the relationship. Knowing what I know now, I would highly suggest separating accounts. If one partner is feeling constrained, it's better to separate the accounts. This is my experience. This also makes culturally and socially appropriate in the sense that we are in times where we are advocating for equal rights. And everybody should have equal rights, everything. And the pursuit that we have got going is that we need to not only feel independent, but also feel financial independence is one of the pillars of independence. And we're also seeking autonomy. We are also seeking a whole pyramid of things in our existence today, which was not the case back in the day. Today, we are in symmetric relationships. So anything I do, my spouse could do. Anything you do, your spouse could do. And there's no difference. And it's in a good way. And I also made a point long time ago, and if specifically within the South Asian context, people who are born in 50s, 60s, men who are born in 50s, 60s, and 70s, I think this holds true everywhere in the world. They have really not progressed as much in the sense that they still behave and act as if they're children of their parents. But women in the last 100 years have come a long way, which men cannot see. It's a weird dynamic. Women have come a long way. Men are still stuck in the 60s and 70s and 80s. That evolution has not happened. And there is a level of understanding that has to happen, and there's some growth has to happen within that space collectively. As a humanity, we have to grow. So that part is there. So the accounts, if you have control on the income, you need to have the control on the budgets and the spend and all that. You could have different opinions as a couple collectively what you need to spend on and how you need to spend on and how do you want to invest, and all that could be a collective decision. But then there has to be individual control on the money that's coming in based on what I see now. Now, if you go back a little bit spiritually, religiously, and you take up this question, every spiritual book or religious book has addressed this question. This question has been addressed in Quran and Sunnah. This question has been addressed Tharva Veda, if you study Vedas. This question has been addressed in the Bible also. And again, different ways to address this, but this has been addressed, this question. What happens to a woman's income, what happens to a man's income, and all that. And specifically in quoting from Bible, when two people come together to get married, two souls become one soul. So all the pain, all the happiness, all the glory, all the misery, all the pains, all the suffering of yours becomes mine becomes yours. Together we are couple. So that's the gist of the story. So there shouldn't be two accounts, technically speaking. If you just follow by that rule, there should be one account. Again, different angles to this question, different dimensions to this. I believe the way I understood studying Quran is that a man has no right to a woman's income. A woman can choose to give that to a man, but a man has no right to a woman's income. But there is a reference to this spiritually and religiously, and this has been addressed in different scriptures. Socially, culturally, and where we live today, based on today's context and situations that we are dealing with today, financial control is an important part. Now, you can have a joint account where you put in some money for a specific thing, then it's a different equation altogether. Sometimes individual accounts, sometimes maybe one or two joint accounts. All those things, you can structure it differently, but then it is what it is. I hope I answered your question. There could be some gaps in my understanding, but the more I work with people, the more I see that control is important for them. And I'm taking today's context as the context, rather than contexts that have been defined by my parents 30, 40, 50 years ago. That's all. Hopefully this is helpful. If it is, let me know. Thank you.